Guys, Coach here. Hey, thanks for joining me this week. This week, we are talking about maybe somebody in your neighborhood, maybe somebody like yourself. We're talking about those homeowners out there that have those ugly summer lawns. Those summer lawns that just seem to fight their way through that 3 to 4 month window when they look so good back in the late spring, and then they seem to come back to life a little bit in the fall before winter hits. That's what we're talking about today, that ugly summertime lawn. Some solutions, some identifications, and as always, what I can do to help solve the problem for you. Hey, I'm glad you're here. Let's get started, shall we? Okay, listen up, because this problem plagues a lot of homeowners, maybe yourself, or maybe somebody within your circle of influence. The solution basically breaks down to a few key maintenance and attention deficit problems when it comes to the homeowner of said struggling lawn. Sometimes with busy lives being a homeowner, working, child rearing, all the things that go along with life. Sometimes we do not recognize it until we're walking out to the car that morning, and then old George down the street who's walking his dog goes, "Dude, what the hell happened to your lawn? It was so nice a few months ago." And then you look at it and you go, wow, it really does look like crap. Or someone within your own household, your spouse, your partner, or whatever, looks at you and goes, "What's going on with the backyard lawn? Why does it look like crap? My God, it looks horrible. What are you going to do about it, and how are you going to fix it?" It happens to many people throughout the year, over and over again. When this used to come around, that is when my phone used to ring in a couple of ways. One, as a nursery professional, I would have people come in and say, "Hey, my lawn looks like crap. What's going on with it, and how can I fix it?" The other way was my phone would ring as a contractor, and I would go consult with people and tell them exactly what they could do or what I could do for them to fix this ugly, struggling summertime lawn. Ah yes, those summertime lawn struggles. Seen a lot of them over the years, I really have. So let's identify some of the key problems that I've seen in my experience, and maybe you can identify something that maybe applies to you and the solution that'll correct it. Let's look at the biggest problem that I have identified over the past 20 plus years. It's the soil and the lack of soil prep. When you have a really robust, healthy turf, the one in the neighborhood that never seems to struggle with anything, it's probably because the soil prep and the original installation was really primo. And when I say that, it means you don't want to just go in there and rake it out with a steel tine rake, throw some seed down and throw a little organic matter on the top and hope that it comes in the best. It takes a lot more effort than that. Okay, maybe a lot more effort than that. Maybe a gob more effort than that. Root zones for most ornamental lawns, they want to have 4 to 6 inches minimum of a good rooting bed area that they can thrive in, where moisture is retained, where nutrients are present, and the ability to go through its annual cycles comfortably with a good, healthy, robust situation. That generally does not come from raking it and grading it, kind of like builders' lawns that I used to see. Those guys would come in and do front yards, 2 a day, just like this. And the lawn, it basically got scratched with a steel tine rake, leveled out a little bit, moistened down, sod was slapped down, and sprinklers were turned on. That was considered a builder's lawn. And most of the time, about 12 to 18 months down the road, I would get the call about what's going on with this lawn. It's July here, isn't that the growing season? Why does my lawn look like crap? It's because the soil is so compacted, so nutrient deficient, that there's nothing there for the lawn to do. Then on top of that, and we'll discuss more about this section in just a second, on top of that, you throw water on it, you throw a lot of water on it, you throw some more water on it, and nothing seems to change. Well, that's because in hard compacted soils, where root zones are a ½ inch, maybe an inch deep at the most, and you get that lawn runoff where nothing seems to soak in, no matter how much you put on it. It kind of bounces back for a little while, but then within the day, it's all dried out, wilty, and you're having to do it over and over again. So you really have to look at that soil condition, and you have to make a decision. Is this something that I need to take out, tear out, and redo? Or can I do a big Band-Aid on it through a lawn renovation? And that lawn renovation is is not quite surgery, but more than a Band-Aid. And that approach generally comes in lawn aeration, lawn renovation, reseeding, and then top dressing again with some fertilizer and letting it rejuvenate a little bit. That new organic matter, that new fertilizer, and those cores being punched in the ground will generally give it another 18 months, 2 years. The best way to approach a soil situation for your summertime lawn, especially if it's old and it's just not getting with the program, is to take it out. Rototill that area 4 to 6 inches deep. Introduce a good amount of organic amendment. Great starter fertilizer, rake it and grate it all out, allow it to sit and rest and settle out, and then put in your seed and top dress it or put down sod. I'm a sod guy. I like the ability to have instant lawn and suppression of all weeds that might be sitting dormant in that seed bed should you go that direction. Here we are in August of 2022. Would I do that right now? Maybe. Kind of depends. Say for instance, you're maybe listing your house for sale and you want it to look as good as possible. Maybe that renovation might be the ticket to renovate it and make it look good in a hurry. It also might help if you just go ahead and replace it and have a brand new, healthy, beautiful Kelly green lawn out there by the time you put that sign out by the sidewalk. It all depends. For me, it would kind of depend on where you're at, what your soil conditions are, what's the future 3 to 6 week window period as far as weather, and what kind of resources do you have to throw at this thing? You know, soil preparation for a lawn is like everything else. It's just not throw it in there and forget it. It's like painting a house or painting a room inside the house or maybe painting a car. Everything has to do with preparation. The best prep you do will really almost guarantee you a long-term success for that lawn bed and for future care. Less weeds, much more adoration from the neighbors who go, man, have you seen Jim's lawn? That thing always looks good. It's because Jim did it right the first time. And that's what I encourage you to do. That underground, that soil is everything. If it hasn't had anything in there for a while, if it was compacted by growers and builders and developers, that needs to be broken up and it really needs to be thought through really well. That 4 to 6 inch root bed is everything to a lawn. That hard, compacted soil that's been there for a long time with a root zone that's only about an inch deep, you can water that thing until the cows come home and you're going to have very short-term success. Okay, moving on. Okay, let's take a look at watering habits. I heard this line several times over my career. Coach, I water my lawn every single day, sometimes even twice a day. I get out there super early before I go to work, and then I hit it again when I come home. And you know something? It never seems to improve. Heard that a few times. Well, you got to remember, the weaker the lawn, the more invitation for intrusion of weeds and unwanted type of plant material to come in there and take root and take hold and take over those lawn beds, because they can thrive. Those weeds can thrive where your ornamental grasses cannot. So your watering habits in the summer months is paramount on how healthy your lawn is going to be, second place to what your soil conditions are. The only type of turf that I have seen that would need 2 times a day watering is the bent grass greens on professional golf courses. The ones that, the bent grass where it's only like, a ½ inch or so, where the groundskeepers go out there in the wee hours of the morning, right at dawn, and water down these greens and make sure that they're nice and moist for the day. And then once the end of the day comes about, then they're out there again moistening it one more time, depending on weather. You shouldn't have to water a good, healthy, ornamental grass lawn more than 4 times a day. And for you people who get daily weather or at least weekly weather, you're probably not having to water a whole bunch period, but there are those times in the year where Mother Nature doesn't drop that water from the heavens, and you have to pay attention to it. So regarding watering habits, let's take a look at a few diagnostic type of techniques that you can determine if you have water issues, like water does not stick around. Most of the time, people have lawn areas where they have some part of it wet and other parts of it are dried out. If you are a homeowner that has an automated irrigation system, you need to go turn it on. If you have it set so it's going on in the middle of the night and you have no idea where the water is actually going, you need to go out there and turn it on when you're home. Turn it on and see it in operation. Do you have sprinkler heads that are dysfunctional, broken, and not working? Are they misaligned so they're missing part of the lawn area? Those are easy fixes. Second way to do it is to go out there and check the dry area first. Check the area that seems to be struggling. If you put your shovel in the ground and just kind of lift it and wedge it a little bit and look into the ground, maybe 2, 3, 4 inches, half the depth of that shovel head, look and see, is it dry as a bone? Obviously, you have very poor coverage, and yet 20 feet away, you have perfectly green lawn that's moist all the way down 4 to 6 inches. This is a coverage issue that needs to be addressed. And if it's on an automated system, you need to do some adjusting. Maybe you have a zone on your automated system that can handle one more sprinkler, and maybe that's enough to correct that issue. Adjustment, replacement, and checking is going to really help. Now, if you're a hose dragger and you have those little water delivery devices that you move around the yard throughout the week, but you still have this one particular area that just doesn't seem to get it, chances are it's a lawn area that may need to be amended. And when I say that, I mean taken out, and maybe shrubbery and perennials and plants and bark and boulders and other things could accentuate that area where you don't have to water it as much like you do a lawn. And third, to some it's the biggest concern, but it's not to me, and I'll make sure I cover this before the end of this video. Sometimes we will have wet areas all over the lawn. It's very evenly moist, but you still have part of the lawn that always seems to be dry and wilting and withering away. That may be a totally separate issue, and we're going to cover that last before the end of the video. Okay, moving on. One that I have seen quite a bit from a homeowner that is distracted by life, distracted away by doing other things around the house, or has other interests and other priorities. And that is mowing habits. Mowing habits are some of the biggest detrimental things, when done incorrectly, that a homeowner can do. I have one particular family member that loves to let the lawn go for 2, 3, and sometimes even more weeks before they come back in and mow it again. And then they come in and they butcher that lawn. They butcher and scalp it down to like a ½ inch in the middle of the summer, in 90-degree heat, very little humidity, and they're a hose dragger. And all of a sudden they have these dried, ugly areas that seem to grow and grow and grow. Those blades of that grass are the umbrella to that root zone for the lawn. They're the ones that produce all the food, provide all the shade, and receive all that moisture and protect it from evaporation by getting down in that root zone. By coming in and allowing it to grow way over the summer height requirements and then butchering it, you're just asking for trouble. Here's an analogy. You're nice and comfortable on a 70-degree beach somewhere, and you have, you got your little umbrella there, you got your cold drink, and somebody uproots you from there after you're perfectly comfortable and throws you out in a 110-degree desert with nothing more than your chonies on, no water, no shade, and no other clothes. How do you think you would fare? It would be like being put under a microscope with that little sun dot on you and just burn the hell out of you. That's the analogy that you're doing to your lawn by scalping it all down. And if your lawn isn't graded out kind of smooth and you have hills and swales and valleys and you put a heavy ride-on lawnmower and you're scalping the little high spots on it, those are the ones that always seem to struggle, and that's where your weed infestation will tend to start. If you're charged with doing the mowing, make sure that you kind of follow along ornamental grass guidelines. And I'm talking about fescues, bluegrasses, ryegrasses, the more predominant, even some of the Bermudas. You want to have them up there at 2 inches minimum. Green showing, 2 inches green, not down from the dirt, but the green actually being 2 inches. In many cases, in some of the hotter areas, 2.5, 3, and 3.5 inches is the summertime height requirements so that those root zones are shaded, protected, and balanced of the root zone versus the growth area. And that's where you have a nice lush lawn. So be careful of your mowing habits. So remember, in the summertime, height is king. Height is king because there's your umbrella for that root zone. So that root zone can stay somewhat cool, retain some of that moisture, not give it all away from evaporation, and you can have a nice, neat lawn at 3 inches tall. And if you want a shorter looking lawn, 2 things. Wait till fall in the cooler parts of the year, or take it all out and put in a lawn that requires less height. Some of the hybrid Bermudas, some of the warmer season grasses if you're in that area of the country and world. Then you can have a shorter lawn. But if you have a bluegrass, ryegrass, and fescue type lawns, which 90%, I won't say 90, maybe 80% of us do, you're gonna want that 2 to 3 inch growth there and then keep it nice and neat. All right, let's wrap this thing up. We're gonna go back to my lawn is wet, coach, but my grass is wilting. Now we're probably looking at some type of an infestation of one kind or another. Infestation of lawn moth grubs. Maybe we have some type of a infection as far as bacterial or fungus type of infections. These are easily diagnosed. The grub infestation, which generally happens in the warmer months, you can go out and dig up a section of your lawn, maybe a little 12-inch section where the problem occurs. Look down in that thatch layer and look down into the dirt in the root layer, and you'll probably find those little white-bodied, brown-head or copper-headed type of bugs. Those are the lawn grubs. They're easily controlled with some pesticidal fertilizer you can put on there over the course of an 8 to 10 week problem, and it'll correct the problem. Most lawns have some grubs, and if the lawn is healthy and robust, just like our bodies, we can fight those kinds of things off without falling victim to them. But a weakened lawn, a scalped lawn, poor soil conditions, and under or overwatering, suddenly those populations can explode. And once they explode, that's when, many lawns can succumb to them to the point where you have big wilted light green areas, even though you're throwing lots of water on them, and nothing seems to bounce back. Go to your local nursery professional, or if you have a county extension, a horticultural county extension, they'll tell you exactly how to take care of it. For me, out there in Northern California, I used to get them, but I also used to, once I got a bad infestation of them a couple of times, probably about a 2-month feeding and treatment program. Other infections that your lawns can get, if you're in a high heat, high humidity area, some of the eastern and southern parts of our country and other parts of the world, you can succumb to some funguses, dollar spot for one of them, molds, rust, other problems that can crop up. Basically, they're coming in and infecting your lawn because something's wrong with the lawn that it cannot fight it off. So pay attention to it. Light sprays, especially in the springtime, sometimes in the heat of the summer, and you can treat it with various fungicides to get rid of it. If it is dead, cut it out and replace it. It's the easiest way to do it. You can try reseeding it, but then you're talking, 6 to 8 weeks before you have anything that looks normal again. That's what I have for you this week. Summertime lawn problems. the big 3 or 4 problems and how to address them. I thank you for staying with me this long. Consider subscribing if you got something from this, and don't forget to check out some of the other educational videos and my plants of the week. Hey, if you're on the go, I always have a weekly podcast that mirrors what we're talking about here. In case you're on the go and traveling, take me with you. Don't forget my website, youryardcoach.com. If you have somebody in your circle of influence, or maybe yourself, and you're considering a landscape makeover and you need just a little more education. Yep, youryardcoach.com. Great book and a great digital course. Thanks for staying with me. As always, to your landscape success, and I'll see you next week. Take care.